guys, Nathan Masters here from Brick System Brothers. Let's take a look at a Technic set. I don't usually buy Technic sets, but this is an exception. My friend Adam picked this up. He was interested in building something a little different and told me I could do a video about it. So we're going to take a look at what makes this a good starter set to pick up, as the motors are included, see it in action a little bit, and just talk about, price per piece wise, getting into Technic instead of system. So, I guess scale-wise, we could look at overall size here. Bumper to the back here is about 9 inches or so, and then your track width is 6 inches. So, pretty good size compared to some of our other Lego stuff. Minifigure scale definitely dwarfs. Although, if you wanted to modify it, you could put some kind of minifig seat in there. It just looks a little bit too large for such a scale like that. So I think this is better suited to just kind of driving as its own vehicle and its own scale system, and a lot of other Technic vehicles are set at a similar scale where it's larger than minifig. Our line of Technic supercars about 1/8 or 1/10 scale, somewhere in there. Our actual functionality is all built in, so it's nice to have a set that does include all of our motors, receivers, the remote also included here. So that's all included, but that has resulted in a much higher price point. So usually a set just over 300 pieces is a $30, $40 set. Including all of these power functions has put this up to $100. I think on sale it's down to $80, so not too hard to find it on sale sometimes, but the $100 price point is actually about how much you'd be paying for the individual pieces and then all of the motorized components individually. So to kind of group it all together in one set for $100 does make sense. It's just going to be a little more than usual for the piece count, as is somewhat usual with Technic sets. So there is this kind of two different sizes in here for our track drivers, and both of these are larger than our standard track drivers. These tracks here are pretty standard among just regular Lego sets. They are a bigger track, but we also have a smaller black wheel with this kind of tooth style on there. And the larger of these two toothed gears has only been in a couple sets so far. I think our other, like our Mindstorms, new Mindstorms kits might have them, and the Lego Star Wars droids might have some, but somewhat exclusive to the range. I think it's a pretty recent part as well. So we have two motors here that are driving each track independently, and basically that's just been sent to the remote, or the remote sends it to the vehicle rather. But we have our red and our blue that kind of distinguish which one is which. That could be switched, and there's also a way to reverse it on the actual box itself. So our red track over here on the left, blue track on the right, and the motors are both stepped to a little bit of an offset, but it's the same gear ratio on each side. It's just offset by that smaller gear, so that even though there isn't a central axle, we could get independent motors driving each side. So basically what this does for the vehicle is we have our independent tracks. We can turn it like that on a dime is what it's called, turning it on a dime, and then you can go forward and backwards if you do both at the same time. And there's actually enough torque in these motors to where it's applied pretty much instantaneously. There's not much of a ramp up, so as soon as you go forward, it's going to lift that front end off the ground, just because there's so much. It's already revving up to its max. It isn't geared down very much at all, and it is applied directly to the back wheels, which are larger. So there's a bit of a wheelie bar on the back here to help with that, but it's maybe not ideal for this kind of car. You might want to start out a little slower sometimes. But yeah, it's fun to drive around. I think it would definitely be able to handle driving around outside if you wanted to do that. I don't think if it was mine I would, just because I would probably want to keep the tracks clean somewhat. Um, but it's a rugged little car, and um, once you're done playing with the car, you can rebuild it into the B model. Here is more of a I don't even know what to call it. It's just an alternate from your regular one. I would say this one, I probably prefer that model to the main one, but since it does include all of our power functions and 2 motors at that, this is not a bad starter kit if you just want to pick up power function pieces and use those to build other stuff. Like our trains can run on this system, although it's not a very conventional remote to use with the train system. The trains actually use a remote with kind of a control wheel instead of these kind of binary switches. So although this one does have multiple channels, so you could get at least 4 things going here with 2 motors each, and it could run those just fine. So thanks for watching, guys. Something a little different for the channel today. Most of the time I'm going to be looking at regular system sets, mocks and that kind of thing. Although I have been getting a little bit more familiar with Technic, especially the interface between Technic and system. And we see a little bit of that here. The mirrors are using our new paint roller pieces, and those can insert into a Technic pin. These tracks are generally considered a system element, and our power control functions are mostly system integrations as well. So there's a lot of pieces that bridge that gap to system Technic, just getting our pin style connections back to those studs and anti-stud connections. So those are pieces to keep an eye on because you can go back and forth between the systems. There's usually pretty good overlap, but you have to watch out on the dimensions sometimes. So keep that in mind when you're building Technic and system together. Technic by itself is a lot of fun to build, as evidenced by this car, and it's even more fun when you motorize it. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.